Right, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Crypto with Chris. So, if you've been following the markets lately, you'll see that not really a lot has changed, I guess, but there has been a handful of noteworthy observations that we'll take a look at. But before we get into that, we got to do all the reminder stuff. Firstly, follow my Twitch channel so that you can get alerts and also so you can comment in the chat. You do need to be a follower in order to comment. And I'd love it if more people did so that we can make this an interactive show, especially now that I have my second monitor back and I don't have to use my phone to see the live chat. So yes. Secondly, if you go to my Twitch channel, you'll see that there's only like 2 or 3 of my last episodes. This is because Twitch doesn't allow me to store episodes beyond 7 days. So after each show is completed, I upload them to my YouTube channel so that they can still be accessible. So go check out my YouTube channel for old shows, also if you're interested. And then lastly, I have a Telegram alerts channel so that you can get notified whenever I'm going to do a show, whether it's on here or Real Vision or wherever. They'll all be announced there. And all the links to these channels are in the description of each video and also in my general Twitch channel. So, also lastly, this is my new scheduled time going forward, I think for the time being, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see how it works and change it if we need to. But yeah, anyway. All right. With that, let's get started. So it's funny. I've been watching this chart in the last half an hour as I've been sort of gearing up for this show, and it's been moving a fair bit on the daily, which we'll touch on here in a second. But I wanted to first look at the weekly, although it's really quite similar. It's a period of heightened non-volatility, as I like to say. But basically, we're looking for this cross, which is going to happen, I'm sure, next week. And then this will be sort of the final tick in the box, the check box to really confirm this as a proper trend reversal downtrend. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to go. I do have a new indicator I want to touch on here in a second, but let's look at the daily here first before I get into that. The levels are still the same in terms of where I think things are going to go, the possible support levels. But I will say, looking at today's price action, it is interesting because it's been moving around a bit. It was all the way down here just not very long ago, down at 25.3, and now it's gone up about $500 or $500 or $600, 25.8 now. 25.9. But what I don't like about this is I feel like the longer it goes sideways like this, really the more chance it is that it goes down. There's just nothing driving it. There's nothing that's really going to push it. And I'll touch on a couple of macro indicators here in a little bit that'll kind of reinforce that notion too. But you don't typically see the start of a new 60-day cycle pump up on day 7 and then roll back over and then just go sideways like this. This is not a typical bullish, upward 60-day cycle trend. This is like waiting for the bottom fallout type of price activity. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Basically, I got a couple of low ball orders set. I've exited a lot of my positions, and I'm looking to buy the dip, as they say, because I really don't think that much of anything is going to happen until we get up to this next ETF deadline. As I've been, I sound like a broken record now, I'm sure. So yeah, I just don't think that anything else is going to happen. We might get a few pumps here and there. Or it could just bottom out. It could, we could lose this level between now and then, and we might be waiting for this level to sort of save the cycle. But the more I look at this, the more I just, I can't help but wonder if the top is in for the year, right at this perfect, 5 spot that I touched on a while back that I completely ignored. This could be the highest it got, and it could just kind of peter out until the end of the year and then go up from there, which would be fine with me. But another thing I wanted to touch on was this indicator. So I've been watching a lot of Benjamin Cowan lately. Great, amazing analyst, really cool, really smart, has a ton of really cool tools. And he uses this cool indicator called the bull market support band. And so what this is, I use it. It's very similar. Well, actually, hold on. it's very similar to how I use basically the 10 and the 20 week moving averages, to watch sort of the interplay between the two and when the one rolls over the other, and basically price trading above or below the 20 week. The 20 week also happens to be the center of the Bollinger Bands or the 20 bar moving average is the center of the Bollinger Bands on any time frame by default. So that sort of works perfect with the Bollinger Bands too. And so the 20 week here in this case is the center of the bands, and then I use the 10 to kind of work as like an oscillator, almost. And so this bull market support band works in a very similar fashion, but instead of using the 10 and the 20 week, it just uses the 20-week simple moving average, which is the red line, and then it uses the 21-week exponential moving average, and then it creates this sort of band in between the two of them. And it works really similarly. I mean, you're still using the 20-week moving average as sort of your overall general bullish or bearish trend indication. But it just, like I said, instead of using the 10, it uses a 21-week exponential. And it kind of just shows the interplay between them. But fundamentally, you use it the same way. You're looking for crossovers up and down with the green line over the red line, and then you're looking for price trading above or below it. So I've been throwing this on a few charts lately too, and it is interesting. And of course, again, since it's using the 20, we are below it, and it did come up and it bounced off of it perfectly before being rejected, rather soundly, I might add, and right back down. One thing I do like about this particular indicator, though, that's different than using just the 10 and 20 bar moving averages, is if you switch this chart to like a daily time frame, for example, it still keeps it on the weekly with this indicator. So you can look at sort of where the daily price is trading relative to the 20 week moving average as well. So that's kind of handy, because sometimes sure, you can add a 20 week, but easily, but I like this because it just makes this sort of quick and easy to do. So that's a cool other perk to using this indicator. I'm not going to stop using the other ones I am, but I like to just sort of add this to extra confluence. And it is sort of handy to get a quick visualization of what the trend is looking like, and what it's doing. We can see that it's rounded over on both the 20 and the 21, just like the 10 and the 20 have. And this is basically confirming a trend reversal here in a lot of ways. So especially coming up and getting rejected and just bouncing right back down. That's just kind of ugly in my book. So I just wanted to point that out. I think it's a cool indicator. If you wanted to use it, it's just in TradingView bull market support band, and you can add that to your charts. I've added it to a handful of charts. It's kind of cool to look at too, looking at the total crypto market cap. It's sort of a handy, quick visual tool to see what that's looking like too. We can see, of course, it's going to mostly double what Bitcoin is, but it's definitely trending down too. One thing while I was looking at this chart, though, that I noticed that was just an interesting observation is the volume, the total volume, and looking at how that has morphed over time. I distinctly remember looking at total market cap and volume, back in these early stages around here, and thinking to myself, wow, God, volume is so high right now compared to, the 2017 peak. And I remember, when I was going through the 2017 peak, it felt like everybody I knew on the planet was talking about crypto, was buying crypto, was trading and doing all this stuff. And yet this is all the volume we had compared to even just right in here. It was basically double, even in this early first year of the next cycle. And I remember that really just surprised me. And then, of course, it only got even higher and higher still. Interesting to note, though, volume peaked at the first crypto peak, which we know was sort of the real de facto peak of the cycle. The secondary peak was it was due to a number of different factors, but it was not reflective of new money coming into the system. All the new money coming into the system basically vanished at this first dip here, and everything was just getting recirculated from that point out. But you can there's a number of charts you can look at that reflect this, but this volume indication totally reflects that too, which I thought was interesting. I mean, volume just dropped steadily ever since then, and it's continued to drop steadily. And in fact, we're back down almost, where are we at here? Right about here. Yeah, we're even a tick lower, than we were in this area right here. I don't know what that means. I think obviously it'll come back, but yeah, just kind of an interesting observation I made as I was poking around here earlier. So, what do I think's going on right now? Well, basically, it's all about liquidity. But I did notice, so the dollar index set a new higher high this past week, which I wasn't expecting, especially because we had a nice big red candle brewing here. And I thought for sure it was basically going to double top here and just get rejected. And it was already bouncing way back down. I mean, it had wicked all the way back down almost to this set of moving averages here. And then just boom, it took off in the later half of last week and then has continued to set new highs since then. So, and this is reflective too of liquidity being down. So liquidity's down, bond yields are up, dollar is up, and that's what we're seeing. That's what's basically holding its big giant thumb on the entire market right now across the board. I mean, if you look at stocks too, they got hit by that too. Over the last 4 or 5 days, they're being squished under the thumb of the liquidity and of the Dixie and are just getting rejected back down. So. Yeah, and until here's just another look at it, basically with liquidity and then Bitcoin and then the inverted Dixie here. It had a little hiccup here, like I pointed out on that last chart, but then it's just continued, and it's continuing to pump, and liquidity is going down, and of course, again, Bitcoin is going down. So this will be interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, Fed policy is largely what's dictating a lot of this right now. So we'll see what's going on. The next Fed meeting isn't for actually right at about 2 weeks, I think, from now, 14 days from now, in fact. So we could see this to continue to pump a little bit between now and then. I don't really expect prices in Bitcoin or anything else to reverse in the next 2 weeks. Certainly not strongly anyway. I mean, we might have a couple of pumps here and there, but really we're just going to see sort of fake price action. And yeah, I did want to look at one thing I wanted to touch on is the open interest real quick. So if we look at that, it's interesting. It has kicked up a little bit, which I kind of wasn't expecting. Prices stayed flat, but open interest has kicked up a little bit. And so I was like, oh, well, what are the people betting on? So I looked at funding rates, and funding rates are slightly to the upside. So people are kind of dipping their toes back in the water in the perp markets, and it is slightly green. So they're slightly betting to the upside, but I don't think it's much, and I don't think there's a huge level of conviction there. You can tell because there's some days where it's basically just flat, and so if this starts picking up, if open interest in particular starts picking up, then I'll start to be looking for a pretty big price move. But I think until that happens, I think we're going to see a lot more sideways action still continue. But I did want to kind of touch on that. So let's look at, I had a couple more things here. Oh, well, just tracking the 50% correction. This was one of them. Obviously we haven't moved yet much, but I'm still sort of looking out for this. And I threw that same indicator on there. Volatility has peaked up a bit, which we know was another indication that I've been looking at. And I think that will probably level off. I feel like, again, over the next 2 weeks, I don't really feel like we're going to get a ton of just price action, unless the bottom drops out, then we'll see something there. But I'm really just expecting flat, very sideways, kind of boring price action until we get down to this level here, and then we'll see what happens, whether we just blow through it or we bounce off of it, or what. But this will be kind of the big make or break level. I feel like once we get to this level, it's going to be sort of a huge inflection point on if it's going to hold or if we're gonna lose it, basically. There was what was that other thing I wanted to look at here? So this. Well, no, we can touch on this real quick. So this is dominance. I know this is a busy chart. This is one of my dominance charts. Basically, it's just ETH dominance on the top, Bitcoin dominance in the middle, and the others on the bottom. But we can see that if we look closely, they've all just kind of leveled off sideways. They're really not doing anything. It's just everything is holding steady, as kind of like I've been saying. And that's reflected in these other charts too, sideways. We had this big kind of uptrend in alt dominance for a minute, but it's leveled off. It's just going sideways now. Oh, I remember what I wanted to touch on. So interesting. The business cycle. So the PMI came in for August, and it actually ticked up a bit. So this is positive. This is encouraging. This is definitely what we want to see. Did my show go? Can't tell if my stream stopped or not. Oh, hold on. Right. Sorry about that. I don't know why my stream dropped out. Something happened, but it kicked back on. So anyway, PMI up. So this is telling me that, perhaps the business cycle has bottomed. I'm really hoping it doesn't come back down and kind of double bottom here. That would be ugly. That would be discouraging, but this is a good sign. And this is kind of what a lot of the macro people that I follow, the sort of general consensus is that we have been, nearing the bottom of the business cycle, and we could start to see things round up. So this is definitely a good, encouraging macro indication that businesses are starting to pick back up. Production is starting to pick back up. Orders are starting to pick back up. That sort of thing. So let's hope that we get another one of these next month, and once we get above 50, then it's cranking. Then that's when basically all the good stuff happens. So until then, we'll just kind of stay cautiously optimistic. Hope we don't roll over again. Hope we don't touch another bottom again. But this is again a good sign, and we'll be looking for above 50 and up to really kind of hit the gas. So I think that's great actually, and I was really happy when I saw that. Outside of that, though, it's kind of business as usual. We did have this, so I changed this divergence indicator around a little bit. So what we're looking at here is these darker ones are called regular divergences. These lighter colored ones are called hidden divergences. So these darker, or I guess these are the lighter ones. Anyway, these lighter ones, they indicate generally a trend reversal, whereas these kind of darker ones indicate often a continuation. So we had this one print here that was darker, and so far we haven't had anything at all print since then. So I've been kind of anxiously awaiting, some other kind of divergence indication to just sort of tell me when the momentum is changing. And right now the momentum hasn't changed. Right now the momentum is still to the downside very much, as we can see. And until otherwise, that's just how we're going to play it. So I'm not really going to, I have not what I would call a stop loss order, but just an order in place on the upside in case we get some crazy announcement, some kind of, early ETF announcement or whatever. Not that I'm expecting any of that, but outside of that, I'm expecting downside, and that's the way I'm playing it. So yeah, I don't know. Briefly touch through some of these alt charts. I kind of been looking at Solana because Solana is one that I'm a little more intrigued in. I was actually pretty bullish on it back a few months ago. I just thought it's kind of a legacy alt at this point. It's been around a cycle. It's had its big pump cycle. Most alts so rarely have another big speculative pump cycle after the first one. Usually by this first one, what happens is sort of when it pumps initially, it's before there's really any real actual valuation for the project that has kind of materialized. And then by this point, generally, people have a better idea of what the project is actually worth, and the true valuation starts to reflect the actual price. And so that's why you so rarely get this secondary, a secondary mega pump after this first one. But I don't know, Solana could be one of those that's different. It does have a lot going for it. It still does have a ton of work going on, more than most projects, and it is continuing to make waves, and it's holding steady. And it's actually one of the few that are up against Bitcoin and up on the year. So, a lot of alts are actually retouching their yearly open, or even setting new lows across the board. So I kind of been looking at this and going, well, how low could this go? Like, if Bitcoin does round trip, what would this look like? And obviously this level here, where it found support at the roughly $10 level, certainly has my eye. And I can definitely tell you that if it does get back around $10, I'm going to be looking real hard at that. Because I think what's interesting with Solana is, even if it doesn't get back up to its all-time high, say, let's just, say it goes down to $10. Here's a 10x. If it gets up to $100, whatever, or $110, it can 10x without even setting a new all-time high. And that's kind of intriguing to me. It's like, do I think this could 10x? Quite likely. Is that about where this level is here even? Maybe a tick higher. Maybe it gets back up to this point here. Maybe it does set a new all-time high. It totally could. That's the thing too. I've heard people throwing around, of course people throw around ridiculous numbers, but people could get up to $1,000, with this Visa thing coming along. Maybe the usage, really pumps the token up to $1,000, and it does set a new all-time high. I'm not going to expect that. I'm certainly not going to hold my breath. But that would be mega, that would be 1,000x basically. So, could it happen? Who knows? But I do think, I kind of think that a 10x is certainly plausible, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me. And it doesn't even really have to get that high from where it is. And, that's totally doable, both in terms of, mathematics, market cap, all of that stuff. And it could go up higher. So this is something that's caught my eye as a possible sort of, quote, easy 10x, if there is such a thing as that, is Solana here. And it's something that I'll be paying attention to, again, particularly if it gets back down to this $10 level. So I'm not touching it now. I'm not touching any alts right now, basically. In fact, I'll touch on something in a second. But alts. I feel like buying any alt right now, you're just going to watch it go down and bleed out. Like basically, the other day I bought just a tiny little bit of this project that I had sort of been turned on to. I didn't, it was just a little 1%. It was not anything that I would put any big chunk of money in. But I thought, well, this Unibot's pretty interesting. It's got a novel use case. It's a novel project. It's generating fees. It's paying out yield. It's kind of cool. Maybe it'll, kind of catch the DeFi space by storm a little bit. But, no, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I kind of just got swooped up into what this person was talking about, and I bought, I think it was around here. Yeah. So I bought it like 199, and what are we down to here? So I'm down a nice healthy 60% on that puppy. So yay, yay for me. Again, granted, I only put a not even probably 1% of my stack into it. So, and it's quite likely that it'll recover. It's barely been out a month, a little over a month and a half. So it's very early. I'm not really sweating it, but more to my point here, don't be aping into alts right now, because you're just going to watch your money disappear unless you want to sit on it for many, many months and hope that it returns. And if you do want to play with alts, obviously just do little tiny bits of money. Don't be buying any big long-term positions here. I just feel like alt season is still so many months away at this point. So probably not for through the end of this year for sure. So I'll be looking for levels. Like, I think now's a good time to maybe go through your watch lists, do your research, be looking at what people are talking about, and look for projects that you might want to load up on once the time is right, in 3 months, 6 months, whatever that is. But now is not the time. Now is the time to be researching and identifying these projects and identifying the good buy levels that you want to get in on these projects, like the Solana, for example. And then be, waiting. Now's the time to be patient and waiting and picking your spots and looking for this so that you can snipe this. And sure, of course, you're probably, there's every chance that you'll buy at what you think is the level, and it could go down lower. But at least you can say you did your research, you formulated a thesis, and you bought when you thought made sense, as opposed to buying now just because you thought it looked cheap, even though it had months of downside to go still. So don't make that mistake. Don't just be kind of aping into projects right now because they seem like they're at good levels. Like, kind of dig in here, do some TA, look at what the support levels look like, and try and identify what you think is a good level that it would rest at, especially if, Bitcoin does decide to round trip all the way back down. What's that going to do to your alts that you're paying attention to right now? That's going to nuke everything. It's going to nuke the whole market if this happens. And whatever money is in alts right now, I guarantee you it's going to be mass exodus out of alts. I mean, if Bitcoin is round tripping, alts are going to go way lower. Alts are going to set new lows. I mean, I don't know if Solana is going to go all the way back down to this, this big level here that I kind of had eyeballed earlier on in the year, $5, but God, that would be cool. I would take that all day long too. So be looking for stuff like that. That's what you want to pay attention to right now. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. Just kind of a quicker update today. Again, not really much has changed. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on Friday. Maybe something will be different, but it probably won't. But we'll see. So Friday it is. I will see you guys then. Have a good rest of your week. All right, thanks.